Am I the a-hole for refusing to go to the same college as my stepsister? I'm 17, female, a senior in high school, and making my college decision soon. I got into some really great schools for my major, and I'm really excited for college. My parents divorced when I was 7, and I was living with my mom until she died when I was 14. I have only been living with my dad and his wife for the past 3 years. My dad remarried Lisa when I was 9, and she has a daughter, Jan, my age. My mom's family has been saving for me to go to college. My maternal grandparents have a 529 for me that they and my mom had been contributing to since I was a baby. It has about 110,000 right now. Jan has really bad social anxiety and clung to me when I started living with my dad. I guess because Jan didn't really have many friends before I came along, Lisa has taken to pushing me to spend a lot of my time with her. This has only worsened during the pandemic, plus the fact that I don't really see her as a sister or friend, more like a housemate. We didn't interact much when I was living with my mom because my dad would always take me out when I visited him. College decisions and financial aid have all come in, and I got into my first choice school with enough aid that I can graduate debt-free with my mom's family support. I absolutely love this school and its culture. I really clicked with it when I visited. Jan, however, only feels comfortable going to the state school, which is great for her major that I also got into. Since finding out that I also got into state, Jan and Lisa have started talking about the future as if we're going to go to school together and live together at school. When I told them that I got into and planned on going to my first choice, they exploded. Lisa said I was abandoning Jan, and Jan has started crying a lot about not knowing anyone in college. Lisa said that if I didn't go to state with Jan, she and my dad would cut off financial support for college. I told her that my grandparents are paying. I got angry and said that if she cuts me off, I can write a kick-ass essay about her cutting me off for more outside scholarships. Last weekend, I went over to my grandparents' house, told them about getting into FC, accepted the admission, and we ate ice cream. I went home and told my dad's family over dinner, and now Lisa's become extremely passive-aggressive about me not supporting family, and Jan just cries and pleads me to change my mind. My dad says that I should take back my commitment and lose $750 and commit to state to keep the peace at home. I might be the a-hole because I know Jan will have a hard time adjusting to college without any familiarity, and that me being there would help her. But I flat out refused without really talking to them about it. I also don't want to be around Jan forever. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You are not Jan's parent. She is not your responsibility. You are responsible for your own future, and you have done a great job at getting yourself on the right track. Your stepmother was awful to try and make you responsible for her daughter, and to try to, mistakenly, hold money and your education over your head to try and make you bend to her will. I wish I could have seen her face when you told her that she had no power there. Your father has failed you as a parent. He should not be making you forfeit your future and freedom to keep the peace. He should be standing up to his wife for the benefit of his daughter. Also, it is laughable to me that none of these people apparently had any idea of how your college finances were actually going to work. I'm glad your grandparents and mother, I'm so sorry for your loss, at least were looking out for you. Get out of that house as soon as you can and never look back. Good luck in college. Lisa and Dad didn't know about the money because all the financial aid apps only ask for parent assets, so they thought they would be financing college for me. Lisa's face turned a little purple when she found out she wouldn't be. Excellent. But hey, bright side, they can spend the money they would have spent on you to hire a therapist for Jan. Because I honestly feel sorry for her, and they are not doing her any favors with their current behavior. There is an extremely unhealthy codependency issue going on here, and her parents enabling it is not going to do Jan any favors. What do they expect? For Opie and her stepsister to just never be apart again for their whole lives? Jan needs to learn how to cope. And I get that anxiety sucks, but she can't just rely on Opie forever. Not a-hole. It's your future, and it's a choice you appear to have both the financial support for and the actual support from your grandparents. When you turn 18, you are an adult and responsible for yourself. My suggestion would be to talk with your grandparents about the possibility of you living with them on school breaks. Also, whether in your later years at college, they'd help you get your own apartment rather than living in the dorms. Also, your stepmom has done an enormous disservice to Jan here by allowing her to use you as an emotional crutch. It's dysfunctional that they're pushing you to attend college with Jan because of her anxiety and issues. If they're that bad, she should have been working with a therapist and possibly on anxiety meds already. Edit. Wow, I honestly didn't expect this to blow up so much. I'm sorry that I haven't been able to reply to many people, but I'm definitely reading through all the comments. Thank you so much for your support. I've been talking to my school and grandparents this week and will hopefully figure something out. So far, I've been able to mostly avoid Dad, Lisa, and Jan by staying in my room. I will definitely be sitting down and talking with them this weekend after I gather my thoughts, and I'm able to go into the conversation with a clear agenda. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my dad his mistake isn't my problem to fix? I, 20 female, live about 2 hours from my dad. My dad and mom divorced when I was 9. He remarried when I was 14, and by then, I mostly live with my mom. My younger brother, 16 male, and sister, 17 female, lived mostly there too. Then our mom died a year and a half ago, and they moved to our dad's. Our dad has younger step kids, ages 7 to 11, and I never really had much of a relationship with them. When I see my dad, I am kind. I treat them the same as my siblings. But to me, it isn't really the same, and I do make much more of an effort with my siblings, which makes sense to me. I usually see them once or twice a month, and we go watch a movie or go shopping and generally hang out. They've been to my apartment a few times too. So my dad ended up mentioning them sleeping at my place next month in front of his step-kids, and according to my siblings, the younger kids got upset and asked why they didn't get to go, and his wife was pissed that not only did he bring it up in front of her kids, but she didn't know they actually stayed over at my place sometimes. Now he's getting flack because I don't make the same effort across all the kids. And he wanted me to fix it by including all the kids this time around and making the same effort going forward. I told him it wasn't my problem to fix, and I would keep being kind and inclusive when I see them, but I'm more comfortable with my siblings. I have a relationship with them, which isn't really there with the step-kids. I never lived with them and never had a sibling dynamic with them. He got mad and told me I could help him make up for his mistake and make everyone happier by including them. My sister jumped in and said it wouldn't make them happier. They are usually glad of the break from the younger kids, especially after being cooped up with them for months during lockdown. He brought up how helping family should be important. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. It's your apartment. Your dad doesn't get to decide who you host there. Plus, at your step-sibling's ages, you'd be babysitting more than anything. Is he going to pay for that? Exactly. Not the a-hole. You don't have to have all the kids over. That's a lot of stress, and it makes sense to only include your siblings because they're older and can look after themselves. Also, these kids are basically strangers to you. Not the a-hole. Sometimes in a blended family, siblings just aren't as close as parents want them to be. My stepbrother didn't even come to my wedding, but my stepmom holds this desperate idea that we are one big happy family when we just aren't. There's nothing wrong with not being close to step-siblings, and it's not your job to make your dad's mistake all better. You're not mean to the other kids, but you were never raised with them. If your dad hadn't married their mom, you would never have known them or been friends with them. They really aren't that much your family either. So why spend the time and money for a relationship you aren't interested in cultivating? Sometimes in a traditional family this happens too. I don't understand why people, most often parents, think they have the right to dictate the terms of someone else's relationships. They can mandate a level of behavior, that is, prevent disrespectful/bullying behavior, but that's it. Not the a-hole. I'm a stepmom, and I wouldn't dream of pressuring my oldest stepkid to look after his younger siblings, especially for a sleepover, if he didn't feel comfortable, because he's not their parent, and it's not his responsibility to do this if he doesn't want to. Ages 7 to 11 plus 2 teens is a lot of work even for bio parents. Why on earth would your dad and stepmom ask you to take them all for a sleepover? That's 4 to 5 kids for a 20-year-old to look after. For a whole weekend? Not cool to ask this of you at all. Sounds like your dad and stepmom want a weekend off from all kids and are shoving this onto you. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting to give up our baby moon location for my sister? My wife is due in about a month, and we've been wanting to have a little getaway together. Work has been chaotic for us both, so we never got the chance to have time off until now. I've requested 4 days off next week, and we'll be going to our nice little beach house. We've really been looking forward to having this alone time together and get away from everything before our son gets here. It's close to the small town with a nice day spa and other places to check out, so we're pretty excited. A few days ago, my sister married her husband. No wedding, just a courthouse type thing online or something like that. Anyways, they really want to go on their honeymoon, and conveniently, they want to use our beach house next week because her husband is going on a work trip, won't be back until middle of May, I believe. I told her they can go before us, but they'll have to be gone by Thursday because that's when we arrive. Their issue is work, and they only have next weekend free. I had to tell her no then, because we want to use all 4 days. I have already requested these days off from work and can't just change it last minute. But they really want to have their honeymoon before her husband has to leave, so she's mad now that we don't want to give up our place when we can go on vacation any other time. And yes, she's right. But since I can't miss work, aside from the days I asked to have off, the next time we get to take a mini vacation will probably be after our son is born. The whole point is we'd like our last alone time now. Sister has been extremely angry at us over this since they want to have a nice honeymoon before he leaves. Are we being a-holes? Now for the top comments. Not an a-hole. Is your beach house the only one in a 100-mile radius? Tell them to rent one themselves. To piggyback on this, are they mad because they want a free vacation? I mean, surely there are other places to go close by. Your sister doesn't really have a leg to stand on here. You planned a vacation at your beach house for you. She had an unplanned wedding and wants a free honeymoon at your house. That's not how vacations work. You don't get to kick the owners out at your whim. I hope her husband fully understands this entitlement and isn't feeding it. Stand your ground. Enjoy your baby moon. It's the best thing you can do at this stage. Not a hole. Yep, she wants the free vacation. OP, if you are feeling generous and your sister and her husband can't afford to go anywhere and that is the issue, I suppose you can ask if you don't know, you could offer to contribute some amount towards a weekend away as a wedding gift, so that they can afford to rent somewhere. Or if you are generous and passive-aggressive instead of asking, you could just say, I'm sorry, the beach house is in use on these dates. It's too short notice for me to reschedule my time off work. In the future, if you are hoping to use our beach house, please ask in advance to make sure you aren't disappointed. Since you and your husband just got married, wife and I discussed and decided to gift you X dollars as a wedding gift in hopes this helps you afford the weekend away you were planning. Not a hole. Your plans for your beach house predate her demands for your beach house. And she has a hell of a lot more flexibility than a couple with an impending newborn. Her entitlement and a-holery is astounding. Tell her it is your property, so for her it is May, which is only a month's wait. I mean, come on. Or never. And if she keeps pushing, it will be never. Not a hole. Hope you have a good baby moon and good luck with the birth. Agreed. And delaying the honeymoon only a month or two is nothing. Plenty of couples do that voluntarily because that's just how timing and / or budget worked out. Heck, there are couples who got married last year who are just now planning honeymoons as vaccinations happen and travel opens up. The sister can find another hotel, or she can simply wait until her husband returns and can take a little time off. The last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for visiting my aunt against my mother's orders as it upsets my stepsister? I, 16 female, don't know how to summarize it, but I'll try. My parents divorced about 5 years ago. My father remarried a year after divorce and I now have a 1-year-old half-sister. My mother remarried a little before COVID, and I have a stepsister, Jazz, 11 female, whose mother passed away when she was 8. I get along with my father's side, with stepmother and baby sister, but cannot get along with my new stepfather and stepsister. With me so far? I hope. The reason I don't get along with Jazz is because she likes to act up, and I cannot deal with her when she does. The adults aren't helping either. I have to think before speaking to her, else she may spin up some wild tales to complain and cry buckets of tears. She is very sensitive, and I have learned to avoid her as much as possible. My mother always told me to be understanding because she has a traumatic past, and that she's still getting used to our new family, getting counseled and such. I had to hold back my anger when she destroys my things, being a witch to me and my mother, and her father would just pretend he is not there whenever she loses her temper. Lucky for me, during my stay with my mother, I still have my aunt who stays nearby, and I would visit her whenever I have the time and occasionally stay over for the weekends. She would bring me out for shopping and buy me things in the past, and is a very cool person in general. She is busier now, but still always have time for me, and even gave me her spare key so that I can go to her place even when she's not home. My mother had an argument with my aunt a week ago, and she now forbids me going to her because it upsets Jazz. That witch went crying to her father, and my mother's saying she feels unfair that I have an aunt who spoils me while she has nobody to turn to. My mother got the nerve to ask my aunt to buy things for Jazz too, and she refused, and that was why they quarreled, and then I was forbidden to visit her anymore. So I went visiting my aunt anyway, even after being told not to, and then my mother got very angry at me, saying that I'm being a selfish brat with no consideration for my sister, while Jess giggled behind her. I told her, out loud with Jess listening, that I only have one sister and that is my baby sister on my father's side. I don't give a crap what Jess feels, and I will still be going to my aunt. And there is nothing stopping me from doing so. What can she do? Lock me up? Is it even legal? Confiscate my phone? My dad bought it. Kick me out? I wish. So I am at my aunt's house again, with my mother texting me how I upset Jess as she had a meltdown again. My aunt said she doesn't mind me staying over, but I should make it up with them later as it is not good for long term. She showed me her phone too, and I could see that my mother and other aunt, youngest, is blaming her for what I did, and I feel sorry for her. But not for that little turd Jazz. So am I the a-hole for openly defying my mother on this? Edit. My aunt is my mother's younger sister. She lives alone, and I sometimes stay over for a bit whenever I fight with Jazz, or with my mother/stepfather over Jazz. I'm not sure if I can live with her for long because it was never brought up, but she gave me her spare keys and said I can go to her place whenever I want. Jazz is currently under counseling, or therapy, some of you call it. I'm not sure if she is making progress, but she hasn't changed much. I would love to live with my father, but he is currently living with my stepmother's parents because one of them is sick, and I don't really want to disturb them right now. At the very least, at my mother's side, I can get to look for my aunt. Not an a-hole. Your aunt is right that you've got to find a long-term solution. That solution should take realities into account. Your stepsister shouldn't get all the priority, and just because your stepsister doesn't have a cool aunt doesn't mean that you should stop seeing yours. OP this. Have a talk with your blended family. Don't swear. Use phrases like, I'm not willing to set clear boundaries. And if that doesn't work, start throwing temper tantrums every time. Jazz attempts to. Be faster than her. And louder. Make sure everyone knows how messed up the situation is. Not an a-hole. And I would personally advise you keep calling Jazz out, in front of her, and in front of your mother and stepfather. Your silence further enables it to continue. It is within your power to say something. So say it, and say it loud. Don't let them misdirect this towards your aunt. Be very clear. The issue here is a spoiled 11-year-old, who you are allowing to negatively impact my life. It is not my aunt. If you want to have me as a daughter in a few years' time, then maybe you need to act like you are my mother and care about my happiness. Be clear, direct, specific, and most importantly, refuse to apologize for what you said. I meant every word. Maybe you should think about why I feel that way. Keep it up. Good luck. Not an a-hole. Try this with your mother. Jazz losing a female figure in her life doesn't mean you need to make me lose one to keep it fair. I have sympathy for all Jazz has gone through, but expecting me to experience the feelings of loss, neglect, and unsafety to make up for her trauma is simply not sustainable. Her using you to hurt me just results in both of us being hurt.